Hi, my name is Gina Croce and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a watercolorist and today I'm going to be painting with you a bowl of big ripe juicy tomatoes. So it's a very simple painting and I hope you want to follow along. Okay, so as you can see, I've already drawn out my drawing of my painting on my watercolor paper. I'm using 140-pound Arches paper. And the reference photo is up here, so you can see what I'm painting from. Okay, I'm probably going to take me out of this picture, so you don't have to see me the whole time. And I think I'll even zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so with that said, I've already put masking fluid, which you can see this pale peachy tone. That's masking fluid, and I'm going to show how I apply that in another session. But basically, I just use a paintbrush that's been covered in dish liquid of any type. I usually use Dawn. I coat the brush in Dawn first, wipe it off in a paper towel. Then when I dip into my masking fluid, I get a nice, even, clean line with my brush. I have a hard time with other tools, so I prefer a brush, but that's just my method. But I'll show you a few others next time. Okay, so here we have my painting cam zoomed. And I'm out of the picture so you can see a little bit better. I'm using my Dynasty water lily brushes, which I absolutely love. And I think I'm just going to start out with a nice big one. Now, I've got a nice white bowl down here, and I put masking fluid all along this edge to keep it nice and clean. The next thing I want to do is I want to put some washes on my tomatoes. And we all know they're red, but I like to start by putting a nice yellow underglaze. So in order to do that, I'm going to wet my tomatoes with a nice clean brush, clean water. I'm going to avoid these little green things a little bit. I'm not worried too much about them because I'm probably going to put a layer of yellow on those first before I put the green on those also. Give them a nice glow. But just quickly, I'm going to wet the paper and nice even coating of water. I don't want it to be soppy, drippy wet, but a little bit of water just so I can put my first yellow glaze on and keep it nice and even and clean. Okay, once I get started here a little bit, I'm probably going to stop talking and just maybe fast forward a little while so you don't have to see every stroke. But for now, I'm going to show you my first step and how I do it. So I'm being pretty careful. I'm not being crazy careful, but I'm going around my little green bits here. And again, that's that. Okay, so everything's evenly coated with water. I'm just going to take a little bit of my yellow paint and I am going to add the yellow paint all over. I've already masked off some of the super light highlights, and so I'm just going to add the yellow paint. I'm actually going to put a little more of it where the tomato is its darkest. So it's nice and dark down here. I see a nice glow happening up here. I might add a little bit more water. Oops, tap off my brush. So I want it the darkest yellow where my darkest red is going to be later. Okay, a little bit in there, a little tiny bit in there. So I'm just going to move on to the next one. Again, it's its darkest right here and over here. And I'm probably just going to tap my brush off and just kind of spread that out and around, making a nice even coat. But you notice there's still some variation. I am doing it darker where the tomato is the darkest, and that will be helpful later. You'll see why. So again, anything that's going to be red is going to have some level of yellow on it, and this is going to give our tomatoes a nice glow from underneath. So this yellow is an important part when you're doing something red. Not always, but in this case I really like it. Okay, so here we seem to have skipped ahead just a little bit. Yes, I forgot to turn my camera on, but I had to stop and blow dry in between, and here I'm just going on and adding more and more layers of Quin Coral. So wherever I see that my tomato is the darkest, I'm deepening my Quin Coral and then adding a little bit of water just to soften those colors out, because tomato skin, again, is skin. So we want it to be nice and soft, avoiding the hard edges, because we want this to look like nice smooth skin when we're done. Here I'm adding just a little bit of yellow, where I see the more orangey glow on the tomato, and allowing it to blend in with the Quin Coral while it's still wet. So again, here I'm skipping to another one on the other side, which is already dry, which allows me to get sharp edges without blurring into the tomatoes beside it. This side also appears a little orangey, so back with my yellow. Now I've dried it again, and again, the tomato in the back needs another layer of Quin Coral. So you see, so far I've only used 2 colors. And they're already starting to take shape, but I'm keeping in mind it is round. A little bit of yellow in there and blend it in. And again, I'm always thinking about the shape that I'm trying to paint. The reference photo is up in the left-hand corner, so as I'm painting this, you can look up at it and see what I'm painting and why. A little bit of yellow. And that side has a huge orangey glow. So a little more yellow, blending it into the orange. And again, Daniel Smith paints are so intense and so beautiful. I'm adding just a little bit of red here. It's a little bit of Alizarin Crimson into the darker areas. And I still need to go darker yet. Now it's dry again. In my darkest areas, a little Alizarin Crimson, a little Quin Coral, and look, a little bit of deep sap. It appears a little dark at first, but I'm putting it into my darkest areas and then blending it in with just some Quin Coral. Now adding green to your reds, especially when you're doing foliage, you're doing trees in the distance, will not only make your red richer, but it won't turn dirty like if you added brown or black or any dirty colors. You just get this beautiful, deep, deep red. And the more I blend it, you'll see it really does make a difference. So now I think my tomatoes are pretty much done. I'm adding a little yellow already to the leaves and the stems, and I've taken that same Hansa yellow light and added just a little bit of Cobalt Blue. So my medium tone on my tomatoes is Cobalt Blue and yellow to make a beautiful mid-tone green. So I've zoomed in a little bit more so you can see it a little better. And again, looking at my reference photo, there's my center stem, a few little leaves. And these leaves are a little wonky. They don't have to be perfectly shaped. No one knows what your tomatoes leaves look like. But on to the next one. This is my second color. Now you notice I've only used 2 colors so far in my stems and leaves also. The less colors you use, the more uniform and the more natural your colors will look. So I try not to use too many different colors in one painting. You want to keep colors harmonious and soft. I'm now going back with just my deep sap, all by itself, just wetting the color I have. Again, I'm not putting it everywhere. I'm popping it in where I see some darks. That right side of that stem's a little darker. There's that little knuckle where it turns. And I'm honestly not even blending much. I'm kind of leaving them a little hard. It's a small painting. It doesn't need a ton of detail. But with a little bit of water, I can lift up that left side of that stem and make it feel a little rounder. Where's the shade? It's darker. Okay, good enough. Time to move on. So again, just steep sap. And the one on the right, it's a little darker than the other two. So I'm putting a little more green. And there we are. Now, masking fluid. I have some still on my tomatoes, and it's kind of harsh. So, with a very soft, flat brush, which if you can see mine close up is beat to heck, but I just want to soften everything, and now I have the softness that I want. And I think my tomatoes are pretty much done. Other than those little drops of water, which I'm just kind of putting a little yellow into, with a little red outline, and ready to move to the bowl. Now the bowl I've already wet. You can probably see the water on it. It's a little bit shiny. Taken a little bit of some purple, add a little bit of yellow, made a beautiful gray. And I'm just adding that gray under the lip along that right edge because the left side pretty much dissipates into the background. So I don't want to add a lot of color over there. A little bit more of the same cobalt. See a little spotty yellow in the middle. And because my paper is wet, I wet the bowl, they're all blending together really nicely. Although I do think I need a little more dark under that lip. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some more of that purple and yellow mixture. There's a little base on that bowl, which you can't see, but I'll move it. There you go. So we just have a little bit of a base under the bowl. And there we have it. A finished tomato painting in under an hour. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks.